Everyone, this is Said. Welcome to Messy Growth. Not many people leave Google to join a bus company. Mateusz Zalubski, today's guest, did exactly just that and then became head of commercial development for Poland and DACH at FlixBus. Then he co-founded an e-commerce company, sold it to a competitor, joined Surfshark as head of marketing at Incogni, and became a CMO. He's now CMO of the year 2024. He won that award, lectures at one of the Poland's top business schools, and runs growth for a privacy tech company, competing in one of the most competitive spaces in SaaS. So today we're going to be talking about building marketing engines that actually drive revenue, why most CMOs focus on the wrong metrics, and what it's like to scale a B2C product in a privacy space. Mateusz, thank you for sitting down with me.
Hi, Said. Thank you for having me on the podcast. I'm very excited to answer some of your questions. You prepped me before. Actually, even my wife said that some of those questions were pretty interesting. Probably that she'll be interested in hearing how I reply to them. So I hope we'll have a good chat today.
Absolutely. But I got to ask you this, Mateusz. Most people don't leave Google to go work for a bus company. What was going through your mind when you made that move to FlixBus?
Very popular question. So actually, my stint at Google has been in the B2B marketing team in the Warsaw's office. I have been there as a sort of temporary person on the team, which is sort of the standard practice at Google. Sure. There were a couple of reasons. I think back then it wasn't an entirely super exciting period to be at Google. I think it's significantly more exciting to be part of the Google's Warsaw team because the office is significantly bigger. They work with many more products. The B2C division is much bigger. So I just think that my drive and motivation has been nudging me to accept a bigger challenge so that I get to learn a little bit faster. At Google, you have the unique opportunity to work with extremely smart people. It's just that within B2B marketing, certain things are limited. Like the rules are quite often set by what's happening in the main offices in London and Dublin and Mountain View. So it's not like you have a total freedom. So I try to jump from B2B to B2C, but it wasn't possible. I didn't show enough motivation to stay under B2B. So I decided that it's probably a smarter thing for me to join another company. And FlixBus was just a wonderful place to be at. I had a great manager in the Warshaw's office. Michał is still leading the company. And I must admit, traveling to Munich to see my colleagues in the headquarters has also been a lot of fun. It was a very young, very driven team, very international. We had people from Italy, Spain, Peru, Poland, Germany, Serbia. Wow. So a lot of talent from all around Europe. And that really has taught me a lot and was a lot of fun. FlixBus is extremely ambitious as a company. I think right now it's safe to say that they are the world's biggest bus company in the world. They acquired Incog, they acquired Greyhound in the US. I think a week or two ago, Andres Fenline, the CEO, announced that they're entering Australia. So this just shows you how ambitious this company is. Yeah. So it has been a lot of fun to be part of it. And one thing that I learned as a marketing and commercial person working for a transportation company is that it's a really brutal market. If you don't fill up a bus that departs in half an hour, you still have to pay for the gas, you have to pay for the bus, you have to pay for the driver. Right. So it's really brutal. Like you have to deliver, you have to execute, you have to understand how much supply there has to be on the market. So again, great opportunity to work with super smart people on some very ambitious projects.
Yeah, I've used the service myself and I can highly recommend. It beats getting mandats on the road, so all these buses are a better option. I want to switch the clock back a little bit. You have built and sold the Pomady.pl to a competitor. That is a massive win. But then you went corporate. Google, FlixBus, now Surfshark. Wasn't there a part of you that kind of felt like that, hey, why don't I just keep building companies?
Actually, Pomady.pl were built when I joined Google. I was working full-time at Google and I built Pomady.pl with a friend of mine. Multiple reasons. I think everyone who is a first-time entrepreneur whose business doesn't entirely succeed Because yes, we sold it to competitor, but I'm not dialing in from the Seychelles or Maldives chilling with a coconut in my hand. Um, so a lot of learnings, how to manage supply, how to manage operations, how to manage a P&L, how does the legal side of the business work. So we sold it, we exited the business, but I still felt like I do have to learn a lot to be more successful with the next thing I'm going to build. I didn't really have a good idea. By the way, to be transparent, I sort of participated in Pomade Pearl. I also co-founded Supersonic, but I've tested 10 or 11 more ideas.
Oh, wow.
All of them, of course, failed. Thankfully, I didn't invest a lot of money. What's great right now is like now you can vibe code things. You have no code tools. So building easy websites and testing and iterating is extremely easy, even for people without technical skills. It was significantly more difficult 7 or 8 years ago. You really had to struggle to build something. But yeah, I didn't have a good idea. I felt like I still have to learn. So yeah, decided that it's still the time for me to be part of something bigger, to learn from others. Yeah, that was a really interesting journey to build Pomade. Idea came from my friends. I like to say, maybe when people ask that, what was it with Pomade Pearl? Why did you build it, and how would you reflect on it? I keep saying that probably the biggest win of that business is that with Adam, we're still friends. He was my best man during wedding. I was his best man during wedding. So I still call it the best win related to this business and to this product. That we've managed to build something. It didn't entirely work out the way we wanted it to work out, but we're still friends.
Yeah, it's the journey that counts at the end of the day, right? It's something interesting you said about vibe coding, that anybody can now vibe code a product into existence. As a marketer, doesn't that make things a lot harder now, considering anybody can build a product? You have to be really good at either with the product idea or differentiating yourself or distributing it to a point where a lot of people end up using it. So things are they not tougher?
I mean, I do not entirely agree with the narrative that, oh, it has been easier in the past. Now it's so competitive. It's not, it's never easy to build something that will have product market fit. It's never easy. It's like try, iterate, things improve, try again, fail and learn. Basically, that's the cycle. I believe it's not more difficult because of competition, but it's significantly easier because shipping things is easier. Like across all types of businesses, whether it's software or pure e-commerce, D2C, it's just significantly easier right now to launch things. You want an automated warehouse that will deal with the logistics of an e-commerce business. A few clicks away and you're already talking to someone who operates such a warehouse. You need an e-commerce platform. You have Shopify, you have Polish Shopper, you have AI shops, you have all kinds of other platforms that you can use to operate your business. And now with vibe coding, a lot of things can be vibe coded. Probably not the fine-tuned versions, but something that you can ship to the market and see whether it sticks, whether people like it, and whether people need it. So from that perspective, I believe it's easier. So the part of building something that people desire, that has never been easy. People romanticize the path. That's had never been easy, never will be easy. But shipping things is becoming easier.
Yeah, 100%. It's just fixing that one part of the funnel. The rest you still have to go and find out and figure out. So you've been on the both sides, founder, building from zero, and a CMO scaling very established companies. Which one is harder?
Being a founder, being an entrepreneur, and starting from zero. 100%. My failed or semi-successful sort of stints as an entrepreneur taught me that entrepreneurs are just built different.
What do you mean?
Entirely different. You have to have drive, ambition, grit, and resilience at an entirely different level. And having those experiences and collaborating and having friends who work in more established environments, so working for bigger corporations, you can see who has the entrepreneurial spirit and who doesn't. You just show an entirely different level of agency, because that's how difficult it is to build something from a scratch. So from that perspective, I would say 100% building something from a scratch is significantly easier than growing something that already has tractions, has users, has product market fit.
Because you have more skin in the game when you're, building something of your own. You don't probably cash flow issues. There's a runway left, significantly harder pressures, so on and so forth. Yeah, I agree with what you're saying.
I have a lot of respect to entrepreneurs.
Mm.
Like really, it's just completely different level of mentality, and might be a subjective opinion, or did not expect
No
that.
worries.
I just didn't
We can
move.
cut that out.
Right? I didn't move for a couple of minutes. My subjective opinion is, after spending some time with entrepreneurs and with people who work for corporates, you can see that even in their social circles and their private lives, entrepreneurs spend more times with entrepreneurs. You just have a different vibe.
Yeah.
So even looking at it from this perspective, I think those people are built different. They expect different things out of their lives. They have a different level of freedom. They work extremely hard. Some of them pull in 60, 80 hours a week. But this gives them some level of freedom that people who work for companies don't really have.
Right. I think it was Elon who said that entrepreneurship is like looking into the abyss and chewing glass. And I agree with that statement, because it is just that difficult. If you make it, you're a genius. If you don't make it, you're a fool, type of thing, right? So it indeed is a pretty hard one. CMO of the year. I wanted to talk about that. You got that award. Does that title actually open doors, or is it just a nice LinkedIn badge?
I'm not looking for any opportunities right now, so it's difficult for me to say. Don't know yet. I got it.
It remains to be seen.
I'm happy about it, but I have the position of a CMO. I don't know yet whether it will open up any doors for me in the future.
Yeah, I do think that everything compounds. Like folks, a lot of times they look at people that are way ahead, 50, 60 steps ahead, and they go like, how can I even get there? Take the first step, write that post, write that blog post, make that video. Every small thing and everything compounds. So I'm pretty sure it will open doors. It's just a matter of like when you least expect it. Yep. It comes useful. Your tagline on LinkedIn is pretty interesting. As I was doing research for this, it's making growth happen. Great. Most CMOs say that. Then blame sales when revenue misses targets. What's the difference between CMOs who actually drive growth versus those who just run campaigns?
So let's start with, I think it's significantly easier for marketing to take full responsibility and accountability for performance in B2C brands than in B2B. Because in B2B, you will always have this sort of push and pull dynamic between sales and marketing. Like who actually made this happen, who brought this client, who warmed up the client, who nurtured the client. So from that perspective, B2B will be always more complicated. When it comes to the sort of difference between CMOs who make things happen and the CMOs who don't, I think there's a pretty clear distinction between the next generation marketing directors and CMOs and the old school types. The new generation CMOs and new generation marketing people have extremely strong understanding of incrementality, of measurement, of data, of attribution. And whenever they think about their marketing campaigns, they always look at data, they look at customer insights, they very often even participate in user interviews and client interviews and focus groups, and then take those insights, test, iterate, scale, but always try to measure the impact on incrementality on the business. Whereas the more old school way of thinking about marketing is way more about the message, the creative side. You not always understand the impact of your campaigns on the business. So I think that the next generation people, they have a much clearer impact on how the business performs and are able to actually prove that what they do is good and that their budgets are spent effectively.
One of the things about marketing is that it's A, very difficult, and B, the environment kind of it's ever changing. New platforms, Google kind of like changes algorithm every now and then. And I think it was Dave Gerhardt who says that you don't go to school to learn B2B marketing. As a CMO, person who's constantly has to evolve analytically, creatively, do you have a creative outlet where you go and look for inspiration, or how is it that a CMO finds that kind of like, okay, we got to try these different things, and this inspiration came from X and Y and Z?
I consume a crazy amount of content that's related to marketing and growth and startups, whether it's podcasts or actually following those people on LinkedIn. I'm not shy about reaching out to some of the people. Like if there's
Mhm.
someone who does pretty interesting creative campaigns, I just reach out to them on LinkedIn, asking them if they would find 15, 20 minutes to just chat with me about where they got
Yeah.
this insight from. But in my current role, I must admit, it's the team. We have a wonderful team at Incogni. People are really excited about the thing we're building here, and a lot of the ideas and a lot of the inspiration comes from our discussions in the office, brainstorming sessions. We have a really good experienced design team that's responsible for our design, video production, and copywriting. And those people actually bring in a lot of the creativity that later on we just scale it with the use of our marketing channels that we have at our disposal. So I think we have a pretty well-oiled internal creativity engine.
Fair enough. Is there a particular trait that you look for when you're hiring people in marketing?
Um, and it's like you added in marketing. I think it's pretty universal. I'm trying to look for a sense of agency. So I want to understand whether someone is able to objectively assess one's situation and be able to act on it, whether it comes to professional life as well as personal life. So even a simple question, hey, like, tell me a little bit about yourself, about your past experience. If someone is able to say, oh, I have been part of this company, but they had limited options. For me to move, I wanted to learn this, learn that. So it meant I had to change, or I had to move to a different city. This already shows you that this person is able to assess the situation and has the motivation to do them. So these are strong signals that this person will probably be always focused on optimizing what's happening around him or her. So that's something that I'm definitely looking for. I'm definitely looking for some level of like data acumen or just understanding data, whether it's a more creative role, whether it's a more social media role, or whether it's something that's a PPC, experimentation, affiliate marketing. I want to know that everyone on the team understands even the basics of how data works, how to do simple calculations, know all of the metrics that are important in growing a business, because this allows us to have discussions on a more sort of deeper level when everyone in the room understands what we're actually talking about. So I really enjoy working with people who have this data acumen. So yeah, agency, data, relatively good communication skills. Um, you have to feel like someone is able to clearly express thoughts. That's also very important.
Yeah, 100%. Your experience is fascinating, Mateusz, but I do want to come back to Google for just a minute. You worked at Google as a program marketing manager. That's the ultimate brand we've already talked about in massive budgets, unlimited resources, for lack of a better way to put it. Then you went to work for startups. What do big companies get wrong about marketing that startups do right?
This may be controversial, but I don't think huge corporations are doing something particularly wrong about marketing. And I quite often hear this that, oh, startups are doing this exciting marketing, whereas corporations are just so boring in how they do marketing.
Fair enough.
They are giant corporations because they are doing something extremely well, whether it's product or distribution or marketing, right? They have to do something that's genius that turns them into this 10 billion, 50 billion, 100 billion, 3 trillion
Fair enough.
company, right? So from that perspective, I do believe global corporations do a lot of things in marketing well. They just operate in a different way. They are significantly slower. When you have millions of clients, customers around the world, you have to really be sure before you launch a campaign or before you launch a product. So they just are a bit slower. And other thing is sometimes they can make up for creativity with their budgets, right? I mean, quite often in marketing, building brand perception or increasing your brand awareness or authority recall is just related to reach and frequency. Like increase the number of the percentage of the population or target audience that you're reaching and increase your frequency, and you will get a similar effect. So they sometimes make up for creativity with budgets. And of course, startups are more agile. They can have one brand positioning for 3 months. If it doesn't work, they can just change it and build something new over the next 3 months to test it. For a bigger corporation, it will be 1 year of analysis, 1 year of testing, and then maybe they'll come up to a decision in half a year. But it's not necessarily bad.
Fair enough.
Yeah? I mean, they are doing something well.
Yeah, 100%. That's why they got to where they got. I think what the argument here is, what most people make is the scrappiness. You lose the scrappiness once you become bigger. Like, think of it this way. When you were starting your career out, you're hungry. You got the eye of the tiger. You're ready to pounce after every opportunity. But let's just say you were a CMO for a big company, then another big company, and then another big company, and you've done that for 15 years. You start to slow down because life gets a little bit comfortable, like in the case of Google, for instance. But if you're a startup that is just throwing crap against the wall, seeing what will stick, they have the liberty to be scrappy, and they have to squeeze every dollar to make it work. I think that's where the creativity juices flow a lot more.
Absolutely. But there's one thing that I don't like in some of the marketing people, some of the marketing peers out there, is marketers are extremely impatient. And I'm also impatient. I love to iterate, test, do campaigns, just push. But we have to remember that the same rules apply. We have to have a certain reach in our target audience, and we have to have a certain frequency to build our brand positioning and brand narrative and make people recall who we are, what we stand for. So if you have something that works, instead of trying to reinvent the wheel every quarter, just continue doing what works and do it for an extended, longer period of time, because that's what guarantees that people actually know your brands and you build a more stable business. So there is some level of risk with marketers who love to experiment and want to test new things all the time, because they forget about the important part of repetition. It's the same in leadership. In leadership, when you manage a bigger team, there are certain things that you just have to keep repeating for people to actually start caring about or start understanding what we're actually doing, what we're building, what's the direction where we're heading.
Yeah, 100%. Talking about the brand and marketing, your CMO at Incogni, a privacy and data protection product, that's a category that I would say or believe most people know they need it, but they don't want to think about it, right? How do you market something that is boring but extremely important?
I wouldn't say it's not boring. Just when you go to Google or you open up ChatGPT or Perplexity or whichever one you prefer, and you start typing in questions related to identity theft, scam, doxing, you can see that it's terrifying. And we're actually at a moment in time where we are peaking globally when it comes to the number of targeted scam attacks or identity theft attacks, or we have the famous pig butchering scams. There's a lot of things happening, and people are feeling a bit overwhelmed. They are under fear. They feel uncertain, and they do demand and want more privacy and security, right? So from that perspective, I think it's significantly more exciting than people may think. It's just this vibe of operating, like maybe not under the radar, but it's just people are aware, but not aware, don't know what to do. And like everyone knows that there are scams happening, but some people assume that it won't happen to me, it won't happen to my family members, whereas it can happen to everyone. It's really interesting. It's a very specific market, but I personally really enjoy it. And it gives me a lot of satisfaction and joy to actually deliver a product where when I read feedback in our surveys, etc., and people say, I feel safer, I feel better right now. I had an ex-partner who has been stalking me, And thanks to your service, I'm able to disappear so that they don't stalk me anymore or harass me. So we are actually helping a lot of people to live a more peaceful and private and secure life. That's something that, in my opinion, is a very exciting and tempting thing that we're doing as Incog. And we have to also remember GDPR was introduced in Europe in 2018. And the first privacy regulation in the US came in, I think, 2021. It was the California Consumer Privacy Act. So we're just getting started. Right? Incogni was launched in 2022. 4 years after GDPR was launched, a year after California Consumer Privacy Act was launched. We are really just getting started when it comes to building our product and meeting our users and customers' needs.
I think like the example that comes to my mind is OC and AC. So if you own a car, you have to have OC. But AC is slightly more expensive. Naturally, it will protect you in case, even if you're at fault for the accident. We all know everybody needs it and everybody should get it. But nobody, it's not going to happen to me, man. I'll be all right until you get into an accident. But this is one of those critical things where, like I said, identity theft, it's no joke, or doxing, it's not a joke. So you have to protect yourself, because we are charting some weird waters when it comes to privacy and security, and we need products like Surfshark out there. So yeah, you're doing large work. I do want to talk a little bit about this. I know we were talking about pre-recording this. You were doing an executive MBA at Kaminsky while being a CMO at Incogni. I've thought about like school. I never want to go back to school. Why torture yourself with school when you already have a good job?
That is a very good question. I think it boils down to being a lifelong learner. I just love and enjoy learning new things. And the more I learn about stuff, the more I understand that I'm still a dumbass. And then in a lot of things, there's still a lot of stuff that I don't really understand. So that's why I decided maybe an executive MBA will be an interesting way for me to understand how actually those big corporations, big organizations operate, what's corporate governance, learn a little bit more details about how corporate finance works. I actually graduated from finance and accounting, which is also an atypical background for a marketer, which probably helps me to be better understand how marketing contributes to our P&L and to our growth. But the executive MBA gave me skills in like corporate governance and corporate finance. We had a really amazing leadership class, I must admit. I take majority of my leadership skills from podcasts, observing other leaders, like internal trainings in the company, mostly collaboration with other team leads, other heads, and other executives. But we had a really good leadership class with Dorota Szkodly-Ciołek. For, I think, 3 days of classes, he used an exact 0 slide, which tells you that the lecturer is someone who knows what he or she is doing and can engage a group of 30 adults so that they actually enjoy it. So that was definitely worth it. If someone is a lifelong entrepreneur, then maybe the value of an executive MBA is not that important or beneficial, because you sort of if you're the CEO of your own company and you operate at the level of a couple of millions of euros a year minimum, then probably executive MBA won't be of a lot of value to you. But if you feel like you had some entrepreneurial journeys, but you still want to learn and see how actually it should look like in theory for a bigger company and learn, then it's a valuable experience.
Similarly, on that path, you did Oxford Executive Leadership Program for 3 months. Did you learn anything there that was critical for your career, or was it just a network opportunity with other executives?
I must admit that it was a good summary of like all of the different leadership styles, books, methods, and researches, and a good networking opportunity. But I already said, I learned most from other team leads, from podcasts, from books and courses, like Reforge, that has courses on leadership and that kind of thing, rather than from the traditional education in this case. So I must admit that my leadership course during the Executive MBA has been better than the Oxford Executive Leadership Program. But I'm still happy that I managed to do it. After high school, I actually applied to Oxford University for their program. Didn't get in. Reflecting at it right now, of course I didn't get in. I was a moron. Like Oxford takes recruitment very seriously. So you not only have to nail your A levels, the Polish matura, but you also really have to show passion for what you want to study. So of course I wasn't ready there. I know it now. I didn't know it then, but I wasn't ready. So I wanted to experience sort of Oxford learning and that kind of thing. I'm not saying that I'm done with learning. Again, my wife keeps telling me just sit down, sit on the couch, relax, enjoy the calm evenings, stop learning, like just chill for the moment. So I graduated from the Executive MBA half a year ago, and I'm already making a list of some courses, programs, or learning opportunities that I might be interested in the future. But I think that also at the level that I operate in, learning from other leads is becoming even more important.
You said it yourself, lifelong learner, right? So there's always something out there that you can learn and improve on. So you've been a CMO, founder, advisor, lecturer. Have you ever had a moment where you thought, hey, I have no idea what I'm doing, but pretend you did, kind of like imposter syndrome?
Like pretending like would be pretty toxic, in my opinion. I think I'm humble enough or maybe confident enough to just openly say, I don't know. And I think if you would ask people from my team, they would confirm this. Like pretty often I just tell them, I don't know. My sort of first impression or the first idea that pops to my head is this and that, or I would look into this data set, this dashboard, or talk to those people. But I'm pretty fine with saying, hey, like I don't know. What I also quite often tell to my team when we have some team meetings, I tell them, as Incogni, as Surfshark, we want to build the most beloved security products, and we want to be the biggest players out there. We want to compete on a global level, but especially what's relevant for Incogni, like if we want to be the best product out there, if we want to be the biggest data removal service or a privacy service of its kind, no one has done it. No one has built the best and the biggest yet. So how are we supposed to know? There are no books. So it's fine to be wrong. It's fine to experiment. No one will tell us whether we're right or wrong. Only the data will tell us whether we are right or wrong because we don't know this. So they should be smart about the risks they're taking, new channels that we launch or campaigns that we do. But, we will continue to win and fail. And I have no idea whether the ratio will be 50-50 or 60-40 or 80-20, but we must experiment and we must test because no one has the answers for us.
Yeah. I think there was a very famous quote from somebody in the 80s about marketing and advertisement. They said, we lose 50% of the money we spend on advertisement. I just don't know which 50%. So you just got to experiment as much as you possibly can, like you said, and see what gives at the end of the day. Talking about Incogni, it's a part of Surfshark, a VPN company, scaled globally. Is there a hard part of marketing a product in multiple different countries at once?
Languages, that's the first one, because, okay, you can say, oh, come on, like we have all the AI in the world to do the localization and translation for us.
Just dub it. Yeah.
It's just, it's possible, but it's still for most likely the next year or 2 or 3, understanding the local insights is something that is a challenge. So I'm a big ambassador of the idea of having someone would be your local countryman, like your local guide, someone who will explain to you the insights, the culture, and the local market. Because with that, you're able to fine tune your sales funnels and you're able to grow faster in those markets. And I think there are actually clusters of markets. So it's not like every country is different than other countries are in certain clusters, like US and Canada, pretty similar, but also UK will be pretty similar. Germany, Switzerland, and Austria are obviously called the DACH, and they are very similar to each other, but you still have to have someone who will explain those markets to you. And good marketers, good product people, they understand that there are those differences and they want to learn about those differences. So they will engage with someone who's local to explain those differences to them.
To target those clusters. So you're a CMO. I've heard this from a lot of people that you got to believe in the product you're selling and marketing. It just makes you a better marketer and seller. Do you believe that to be the case, or you kind of feel like that it doesn't really matter what product you're selling, so long as you're good at your job, you're going to make it?
Would be difficult for me to sell something that I despise or don't like or am not excited about. But I don't think it's true for a majority of the population. I think there's quite a lot of people who just don't, like, are so focused on winning and growing that they don't really care what they're winning at or what they're growing. I'm in no position to judge whether it's good or bad. I enjoy working with a product that I believe does a good thing for the user. And it's like making the world maybe a tiny bit better, safer, more private place. But I think there's quite a lot of people who just don't really care or don't have the luxury in their lives to be able to say, oh, I don't want to sell this product. Like, because in my opinion, being able to say, oh, I don't like this product, I would like to sell something different, this is a luxury. And I think a lot of people don't have this luxury of being able to pick what you sell, what you don't sell, what you grow, what you don't grow.
Yeah. I mean, of course, if they did, they would obviously work at a company where they believe in the mission and the product, but that's never the case. But I do believe that there is truth in there, which is if you truly believe in a mission, you're just going to have a little more extra pep in your walk and in your ideas, because even if you're pretending and you're good at your job, it starts to wear you down on a longer period or a longer term. So it's always a good litmus test to know where you're in the right place.
Yeah,
or not.
I agree with this. We haven't done a survey like this, but talking to people at Incogni, we do attract people who are interested in cybersecurity. We do attract people who care about privacy. We have quite a lot of people who proactively follow the developments and the news cycle around privacy regulation, not only in the European Union, but also in the US, and they deeply care about this. By the way, we're recruiting. Like if anyone's interested, we're recruiting across product engineering, marketing, and other teams. Like we'll probably continue to recruit throughout the next couple of years because we're expanding quite rapidly. Yeah, I mean, I truly believe we do attract people who have a high sense of mission and are passionate about what we're doing and what we're selling, which definitely makes a lot of things easier when it comes to marketing campaigns or building the product, because they do deeply care. So I think our help desk and IT administrators are pretty annoyed with some of the people. Like, there are some people who just refuse to use Google services or refuse to use Meta services or read all of the privacy policies, or like, oh, I want to install this, I want to install that, or use a Linux OS on their smartphone so that they stay a little bit more private. I think we have a significantly high share of people who go to those extremities of privacy, but this resonates in the company culture. This resonates in the products we're building and the campaigns we have.
Yeah, 100%. Talking about teams, you've led teams at Google, Flex, Supersonic, Incogni. What's the one thing most marketing leaders get wrong when they're building teams?
What marketing leaders get wrong? Three things, but I don't think it's just marketing leaders. First thing, recruitment. Whenever a company grows and expands, the talent density just keeps loosening up. You don't have the talent density that at the stage where you're 1,000 people or 500 people, you don't have the talent density you had when you were 30 people or 20 people or 100 people. I think there's quite a lot of people who underestimate the importance of recruitment. They hire people they are not 100% convinced they should hire, just because there's pressure or they have been in the recruitment process for 2 months and they are annoyed with recruitment calls. So they will just hire someone who's just good enough instead of hiring someone who's actually an A player or a system thinker or someone who's extremely strong at what they're doing. So I think recruitment is something where people should pay more attention, especially leaders who start their journey. Because if you recruit a weak team, you will struggle as a team lead. When you recruit great people, your life will be significantly easier as a marketing leader, as a team lead in general. Second thing, feedback. I don't know if it's a counter thing, but people struggle with feedback, receiving and giving on both ends. And I think team leads avoid this short-term inconvenience.
Yes.
They don't want to share negative feedback with their teams. By the way, they also forget to share the positive feedback. That's another bad thing that they're doing. But they just want to avoid having those uncomfortable conversations at all costs. And then, you don't share any feedback for 12 months. You come into a performance review meeting, suddenly you tell all the negative things to the employee, and the employee was like, what the hell? You haven't said anything. I thought I'm a wonderful performer. I was expecting a 20% salary increase and a promotion. Why are you telling me that right now? But I think people screw up feedback. Feedback should be delivered on a regular basis. You should care about delivering some form of feedback every 2 to 4 weeks to your team members so that they understand whether they are on the right track or on the wrong track, so that they're able to course correct, improve, fix things, so that you also build this trust. Because of course, people who report to you will struggle with delivering direct feedback to you. And I think when you start with smaller steps, it builds this trust, and they are also able to tell you that, hey, you're a moron, which, by the way, I'm entirely fine with. Like, again, no one knows how to be the CMO of the biggest data privacy company out there. So I also will make a lot of mistakes, and I'm happy to have super smart people on my team who will be able to tell me, hey, I do not entirely accept this, I agree with this decision. I think we should go in a different direction. Or, hey, here's data that actually contradicts what you're saying. I need people like this, so I have to build this environment of trust. So feedback is very important. And the third thing, especially for team leads and leaders who become leads for the first time, when you are an individual contributor, you mostly care about delivering what your team needs and what your team lead tells you to do. But when you step into a people manager's position, when you become a team lead or a head of, your role starts having two sides. On one hand side, you have to represent the interest of the business. On the other hand, you have to represent the team. And I think there's a relatively big group of managers who will do more of one or the other. So quite often you get people who become team leads are only representing the interest of the business. They don't care about the well-being of their employees, and they'll just keep pushing the team, keep grinding the team, and the team will be miserable. It happens very often. On the other side, we quite often have people who just don't put enough pressure on their teams. They don't set high expectations, and the team can be super chill. The team can be super happy. But then what if there's a perception of the team that the team is underperforming in general? Then again, the salary review cycle, the performance cycle comes, and management of the company says, like, hey, I mean, we're happy that you're chilling. We're happy that you're very happy at work, but your team is not performing. So we cannot really justify promotions or salary increases, etc. So from that perspective, I think those managers also do quite a lot of harm to their teams by not demanding. So there's this very careful balancing act between representing the interest of the business and representing the interest of your team. And you learn that along the way, but I think you have to be aware that as a team lead, you actually do have this responsibility towards your team and the business. And if you don't understand this, then long term, I think you'd rather fail.
Yeah, this is a tough job. It's like you said, it's a balancing act. And if you can't balance it out, you're going to burn out. And, most importantly, you're going to fail a lot of the people that are working with you.
Unfortunately, yes.
Last couple of questions before we head into our rapid fire round. You're part of the Digital Experts Club. What is that? And is it actually useful, or is it just a group chat where people share LinkedIn posts?
It's a group that's curated and managed by one or two people who decided to create a community. It's invite only, so only the people who actually do the job are invited to be part of it. There's also a rule that you're not allowed to sell products to each other. Yeah. So suppliers are not invited. I think it's interesting. They organize educational sessions. Some of them are not that beneficial for me as a person because I think I'm pretty advanced at what I'm doing. But it's amazing to have access to 200 or 300 other directors or C-levels in digital or in marketing to whom you can send questions or openly ask, like, hey, how do you do this? How do you do that? Do you have a supplier for like video production, or do you have a supplier for that? Also bounce on ideas off of each other. That's definitely beneficial. So I do believe those communities are needed. And I think we should have more communities like this in Poland in general.
Yeah.
And I'm actually very happy to see that there are those initiatives. We have the product dots. We have more and more communities around startups and technology for people who are building companies, which I think will greatly benefit us in the long run.
I agree with you on that. Last question before we go into the rapid fire round. So Google, really a cool place to work or overrated?
Depends. I mean, you're asking me about a company that employs almost 200,000 people across probably 60 offices around the world, probably even more than 60 offices around the world.
Yeah.
That has multiple divisions. There are product teams, engineering teams, marketing teams, sales teams. So it's very difficult to judge. I think the golden era of working at Google was in the 2000s and early 2010s. Probably the talent density was just extreme back then in the company. So I think that was probably the moment to be there. But Public is one of the largest companies in the world. So you will be able to find some exciting challenges and exciting roles in the company. Even right now in Warsaw, I think there are some teams who are proactively working on product development of AI.
Interesting. Yeah.
Which has to be a really cool job to have. And it's accessible. You don't have to move to California to contribute to Google's AI growth. So from that perspective, there will be a lot of repetitive and pretty boring roles. I wouldn't probably join the sales team or some marketing teams. But on the other hand, you have people who are building marketing campaigns for Google AI solutions. There are people who are proactively promoting Nano Banana. It must be fun.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it's a exciting project to work on, I believe. And you get to have the front seat for technology that is, for at least for a consumer, very, very new. And there's a lot to be explored on that front. But this has been fantastic. So rapid fire round, quick questions, quick answers. Best advice you've ever received, business or personal?
That's a very difficult one. I mean, I'm a follower of Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger, so I can't say it was an advice that I received from someone, but I tap into a lot of their quotes. I think Charlie Munger is responsible for the one that I try to follow the most, is that it's more important to be consistently not stupid rather than be brilliant. And that's something that guides me a lot in my decision making at both personal and professional life. I also like the quote that comparison is a thief of joy. So I pinch myself whenever I feel like envy or I start comparing myself with someone, because I think it's a very negative thing. So yeah, anything that belongs to like Warren Buffett or Charlie Munger quotes is something that I really enjoy. Same with like Naval Ravikant, interesting thinker, quite a lot of interesting thoughts coming from him. So these are the people that I follow, and they provoke my way of thinking. I think also Sam Altman has a pretty cool like list of things he believes are important in life. I don't remember the name of it, but I also agree with quite a lot of bullet points that he has there. So I would refer people to look at this one.
Yeah, 100%. Advice you ignored or wish you had listened to?
There's probably so much of it that I can't give you one example.
Okay. No, that's all good.
Yeah, I mean, maybe something that's related to investing. I think I should have followed earlier the thought process of the bogleheads so that I probably won't beat the market. So I should just buy the market, which means get a long-term, low-cost index fund and just chill.
Nobody can time the market, unfortunately. That's a lot of people have tried and failed. What would you tell your younger self, say 7 to 10 years ago?
Start investing earlier. I mean, I don't think I made that many mistakes. Maybe invest a little bit more in health, take a better care of your body, out of your diet. But other than that, I'm at a pretty happy place in my personal and professional life.
That's all that matters. An ongoing challenge in your work that keeps you up at night.
Growth. Where to find next levers, new channels, new growth loops.
Name of the game, right? Your favorite restaurant, meal, or a spot in Poland?
I stopped going to restaurants on a regular basis 2 or 3 years ago. We started cooking a lot at home and recreating certain meals. I've actually spent quite a lot of time during COVID learning how to do the best Neapolitan pizza, like a lot of fellow millennials did. So I love Neapolitan pizza, tacos, burritos, ramens. I've recently got into Indian food, so also
Right on.
some chana masalas, some butter chicken, some tikka masalas, etc.
There you go. That's how you do it. One tool that you swear by and can't live without.
I try not to be that much addicted to tools.
No tools? Oh, wow. That's cool.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
the most common answer nowadays that I hear is ChatGPT or some LLM of some sort, because a lot of people rely on that. And it's really helpful to kind of like get their thoughts right and help with a lot of their work. I think people are dependent on that for a lot of ways. All right, Mateusz, this has been perfect. Thank you so much for this. Where can listeners find you?
Mostly LinkedIn.
LinkedIn. LinkedIn is a place,
I mean-
guys, if you want to reach out.
I'm more of a private person, so just LinkedIn is the go-to platform. Don't try looking for me anywhere else.
No worries. Thank you, Mateusz. I really appreciate you coming on. It's been really valuable. Folks, if you got value out of this, share it with someone who needs to hear it. I'll see you guys next week. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.